Morning, folks. Today's soap is brought to us from Uncle John's. This one here is called Prohibition. Got a link down below if you want to check his soaps out. Got the matching aftershave to go right along with it in a glass container here. That's what the label looks like there on the back. I've had this one here for a moment, so that puck inside is getting pretty small. I've got it whipped up here in a smooth bottom bowl that I picked up a while back at a thrift store. It's a heavyweight one, you can tell it. So anything in the way of heat, it retains it fairly well. If you're wondering who made it or anything like that, the only thing I have that the only thing I got to go on, which I don't, it just says hotel on the bottom of it. But anyway, you might be able to find these from time to time, these heavyweight bowls that hold heat and lather up rather well. Got it whipped up here with a, this is a badger knot. This particular brush was made by Green Country Razors. So they're no longer around, but that badger knot, just, it it really does bloom up like a mushroom. This scent is really nice. I kind of liken this, it kind of relates to me in the way of, oh, I should show you that's what it looks like there on the bottom, like a cylinder out of a revolver. The scent I kind of relate to is similar to what I would call West Coast old school. It does have that kind of scent to it, in that it's, I guess you might say, from days gone by, Prohibition time, if you will. It's a nice scent. I enjoy it. I already put a hot towel to the base this morning in the pre-shave oil. Still using the Art of Shaving pre-shave oil. Use a couple of squirts out of it. And the shaver of the day has the Supply Black Label blade. This will be the 5th use on this particular blade. It's in a MinGoose. And for some folks, they might remember the mongoose. You see it from time to time. I guess you might say it was one of the early adopters of using the Feather Artist Club blades. This one here takes injector blades, MinGoose, in other words, the smaller one. And I read some reviews, and I think this came out back in 2018. It might have been 2017, but I think it's 2018. And it was a limited run type situation, and it was offered through Maggots. And some people, it was kind of the best I could tell, almost like a love-hate relationship with the razor. Some folks really liked it, some folks didn't. And I kind of like, I still go back to, it may have more to do with the blades, the availability of injector blades. There's not a, it's not like a DE blade where there's like, 50 people making DE blades, where there's not that many in the way of injector blades to be choosing from. And it might be, somebody trying to, find that right matchup for them. So you only had a few to be choosing from. And now that Supply has the Black Label blades, which these blades are different than what was previously on the market, might help some folks if they still have a razor like this, or an injector as far as that goes, and you're still hunting for a blade that works well for you. This one here just might be right up your alley. It's got this, if I remember right, it's got 8 blades in there, and I think it's close, as a matter of fact, I think it's close to $8. But anyway, yeah, I think it's 8 blades in the dispenser. Can't remember right off the top of my head. Sometimes those sort of facts just kind of escape you, But number of shaves you get per blade will be your mileage may vary type thing. Oh, by the way, this razor came to me by the way of a Stephen Sprague. He sent this to me. At the time, back in 2018, I had no idea that this razor even existed. Sometimes it just depends on what circle you travel in, what you get familiar with. And at that point in time, I still, I was aware of mongoose, but I just wasn't, how you say, quite to that point where, I guess you might say, a waiting list was not one of my things. And to a degree, it's still not. I've got my own waiting list already made up. And list of razors that I'm interested in. And some of these razors, in other words, most of them on the list, are vintage ones. Ones that are a little bit more difficult to find, especially at a price point that a person might be willing to pay. Everybody's got different kinds of budgets and whatnot, and what they're willing to spend on especially for me, on a vintage razors, where I usually will take more time trying to find that one that's going to fit in my budget, which is, sometimes it takes a good long moment, years, because in other words, you're not always looking every day to on eBay or Etsy for that particular razor, because I do have a few. You might be able to hear that. That's Thor, our cat. He's outside the door. He's wanting in. He's kind of funny. Kind of waiting to see if he'll start swatting at me underneath the door, trying to get my attention. This is a really nice scent. I guess you might say it might be one of the. I have another one from Uncle John's, and it's called It's Just Cake. It's no longer in production, but it does smell really nice. It smells like chocolate cake or a brownie, if you will. It smells pretty good. It's one of those kind of scents that get you thinking, especially chocolate. It does give you an opportunity, though, to use an injector razor without having to actually have an injector. Kind of like the Ender Speed razor. Now, I'd have to say, if you're wondering in between the two, Ender Speed razor, or Speed Shaver, I should say, I used in the last video, a couple of videos ago, and this one here, as goes to which one is a more aggressive shaver. This one here is. That might be the reason, for a good reason to use a supply blade, because it'll be a smoother shave for you. If you thought that the previous shaves with this, with maybe a Persona blade, was a little too aggressive for you, I think the supply blade will work better for you. Now, and the Speed Shaver is a very smooth shave, just really nice. I don't mention it a whole lot, but from time to time it does come to mind, especially while I'm lathering, that to me, when it comes to natural bristle, I find the easiest to work with in the way of natural bristle knots that don't require much breaking in, if you will. It would be a horsehair knot. I've had really good luck with them, even with the inexpensive ones. I know horsehair is not the most popular knot, and I think maybe also have to keep in consideration the availability of horsehair knots. If you just look for a horsehair knot just to put into a brush of your own, finding them is not the easiest thing to do, especially if you're looking for white. I'm not even talking about a particular knot size. Yeah, that's when the challenge really gets tough. And then sometimes you don't find some of the information that would be important to know. In other words, what kind of mixture of mane and tail that you want, because the mane and tail, as goes for, I guess you might, softness, there is a difference in between the two. Might be the reason why you find a blend. It also helps with the backbone. But for me, with my style of lathering, I don't necessarily need ploppy, but I do need something with just a little bit of backbone, not a whole lot. I've had really good luck with horsehair knots at various different price ranges also. Lathers up pretty nice. Easy to use for me. Is one of my, outside of a boar knot, that would be the next natural bristle knot that I bought in a brush, was a horsehair. It just seemed to be, how can you say, easy to use, find at that point in time. Back then, shipping with gifts and care was pretty reasonable, so that's where I picked up a lot of mine on the inexpensive side of things. Got just a little bit of stinging right there, just a little bit. That is one thing about talking and shaving at the same time. Sometimes you get a little distracted and your pressure angle gets off. Always makes for an interesting shave, especially if you got a straight razor or a shavette. It's the reason why some folks go quiet during the shave is you got to really focus, pay attention to what you're doing, especially if you're relatively new at it. I do know this much. As long as I've been using this particular bottle, you can kind of tell that's all that's missing out of it. It's going to last a good long moment. Something to think about as it goes forward, how much you're spending in your shave routine. If you're trying to stay on a budget, there are certain items that are relatively inexpensive over time if you divide it up among the number of shaves, kind of like these blades here. If you get, in other words, there are 8 in a pack, and if you get, basically a week's worth of shaves out of there, especially if you're a daily shaver, the price on the blades start to, I guess you might say, drop as it goes per shave, make it a little bit more economical to use. That's what the restrictor looks like there, if you can see it. This really does smell good. Like I said, it's one of my favorites from Uncle John's. I do like this container too, the glass. If you're wondering, that's what the cap looks like there on the inside. Pretty good stuff, I would say. And like I say, it is one of my favorites. Can't say a whole lot of much more about it than I really do enjoy this scent. Like I say, it's a lot like the West Coast old school shave. It has that scent from days gone by. It does smell great. Had a great shave today. I hope everybody's doing well. After the big night last night, if you stayed up late to watch the game. Anyway, yeah, a little blurry-eyed, huh? Hope everybody's doing well. Stay healthy, stay safe, and smooth shaves to you.